What do I do when there are multiple options? So we're in this devotional series on, the first one was waiting on God, right? We talked about not acting out of panic or desperation or just, convenience, waiting for God's wisdom to know what to do, waiting for God to work out those details. But then that opened up another question is, okay, well, where do I stop and God begin, or vice versa? Like, how do I know if I'm doing enough or if I'm doing too much? What should I be trusting God to do? And so we talked about that. And in that, I talked about taking the next faithful step. Now, here, this is an honest question that comes up a lot by Christians is okay, I get that. I want to obey. I want to walk in wisdom and take that next faithful step. But what if I have two or three what seem perfectly reasonable options that look like they're all in line with what God might want? How do I know? Well, the good news is scripture speaks to it more clearly than you're actually going to think. But the first thing we need to understand is God's not trying to hide his will from us. He's not up there playing these spiritual games of hide and seek, colder, hotter, colder. It's not like that. It's not a treasure hunt. His will, his moral will, it's already revealed to us in scripture. That means whatever you choose must fit within what God has already said. If an option violates scripture, it's absolutely off the table. So you need to look at those options, and some of them might not be as clear and straightforward as you might think. So do, some really hard looking and say, do each one of these options align with Scripture? And if they don't, they're off the table. You don't need to pray about should you obey God. If he spoke it, if it's in his word, that you don't need to pray about that. You don't need to pray about, do I need to, do this or do that when God has clearly shown you in the Bible. That doesn't align with who I am. All right. But let's say that aside, all the options in front of you, they're all good. They're wise, moral decisions, possibilities. What do I do then? So let me give you several options. I mean, several points actually. Number one, first thing we always want to do is we want to pray. And I've told you this in past devotions. We always want to pray for wisdom. James tells us if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, right? Now, he's not saying ask God for some kind of miraculous sign, not a miracle or some lightning bolt that strikes. You wake up and the correct answer is posted on your wall. No, you don't ask for that. You ask for wisdom. Okay. Wisdom shapes the mind. It makes you think clearly. It aligns your desires with God's desires, his heart. That's number one, the foundation always. All right, two, look at the motives. This is key, and a lot of people do not do this. Sometimes the right choice becomes obvious when you really look at why you're leaning towards a particular direction. Is it fear, convenience, pride, something else? Gen Are you genuinely, if I can talk, genuinely desiring to honor Christ in that decision? God, he's often going to reveal himself by exposing you, making you look in the mirror. What is driving you internally towards one direction or the other? All right, that's powerful. Number three, seek godly counsel. Not everyone's advice is godly counsel, though. You want to look out for mature believers, pastors, people grounded in the word. Scripture says there's a safety in a multitude of counselors, and that is so true. Sometimes other people can see the situation more clear than you can because you're too close to it, right? You're inside of it. You need somebody looking out from the outside. Somebody that doesn't have any dog in the fight, so to speak. All right. So number four, we need to consider providence. And what I mean by that is God is opening and closing doors through circumstances. So if you find yourself like a door just keeps slamming shut, no matter how hard you push, that may be the Lord directing you away from that door. If another door opens just naturally, just kind of falls in your lap, so to speak, peace and clarity, it just fits, that may be the Lord guiding you towards that direction. So providence isn't some mystical, you know, occurrence. It's just simply paying attention to what God is orchestrating around you. You'd be surprised how many things that are blessed by God just fall into your lap. My wife, right? Biggest blessing by God in my life. Literally, I did nothing. Now, I'm not saying that's always going to be that easy. I literally did nothing to cause her to become my wife. Well, obviously I had to date her and court her and win her love, so to speak. But when I met her, right, it was just this random series of events, what seemed, but it was God's providence directing us together. All right. So number five, make a decision. God doesn't call us to paralysis by analysis. If the choice is moral, if it's wise, you've prayed about it, you've searched scripture, you've examined your motives for it, you sought some counsel about it, and you've looked at, is God opening this door, shutting these doors? You looked at providence, then just act. God is fully capable of correcting your decision if needed. We always think, oh man, it's now or never. This is the last chance. Once I make this decision, I can't turn back. God is, and nothing is out of God's reach. It's out of what He's able to do. He is able to even turn bad things into good. Now, obviously, we don't want to go down bad paths, but if we are truly seeking God's will and it turns out, you know what, this just didn't work out, God is capable of correcting that if needed. He redirected Paul. Look at Paul's journey in the Bible. Redirected him more than once. So he can redirect you. So we need to remember this, the will of God. It's far less about choosing this one perfect option. It's far more about becoming the person who honors God with whichever option you choose. You get that? If multiple paths allow you to obey God, honor Him, then just choose the one where you can glorify Christ most faithfully. The great confidence we have is if your heart is set on obedience, you you can't, they say you can't say the wrong thing to the right person and the right thing to the wrong person, right? The same thing applies here. You can't ruin the plan of God. He is sovereign over your steps. Your responsibility is simply to walk in faith, walk in wisdom, walk in obedience. You need to be doing all these things, right? And trust Him to handle the rest. And that's it. All right, so I hope you got value out of that. Hope that brings you some peace, and maybe you're trying to make a decision right now that you're struggling with. And I hope this helps you. So God bless, take care, and we'll see you back next time.